Chapter 6:13. Mistress. The man knelt in front of Luo Qingtong and presented her with a package. Mistress, this is something sent from the far west wilderness. It must be delivered to mistress. The man was from the Blackfields mansion. Luo Qingtong looked at the package in his hand and raised her eyebrows. Far west wilderness. Something sent from Su Yu's side. Luo Qingtong thought about it and took the package, then asked, "How is the mansion? Is Yan Yang able to handle it?" Ever since Luo Qingtong's pills became famous, there was an endless stream of people from various forces heading to the Blackfields mansion. If it weren't for the Blackfields' tyrannical forces and the fact that they were determined to protect Luo Qingtong, her mansion and the Blackfields mansion would have been taken away and forced to reveal her identity. But even so, those people weren't easy to deal with. After all, they had noble statuses and profound strength. As long as they didn't use force, the Blackfields mansion couldn't go too far. Everything in the mansion is fine. Steward Yan has handled it well. This time, he asked me to report to mistress that you don't need to worry too much. The man from the Blackfields mansion replied respectfully. In addition, mistress, Steward Yan wants to ask if you want to go to the Blackfields main city of the Empire of Qin to develop your strength. Right now, the Blackfields mansion in the eastern border country is too small for mistress. Luo Qingtong's current fame was not what it used to be. The pills she refined were sought after by the various forces of the great holy dynasties. She could expand her influence to the 4 great holy dynasties. The level of the Blackfields mansion in the eastern border country was too low. Luo Qingtong nodded. Let Yan Yang handle this matter herself. If you encounter any problems in the main city, feel free to look for me. Luo Qingtong also needed the power of the holy dynasty. She couldn't stay in the Blackfields city of the eastern border country forever. Even though Yi Qianxian had said that she could use his power as she pleased, she still didn't believe him. But Luo Qingtong was used to relying on herself. When it was time to use Yi Qianxian's power, she naturally wouldn't hesitate. But usually, she preferred to rely on herself. Yes. The man from the Black region subsidy nodded. He turned around and was about to leave to report the completion of his mission. At this moment, Luo Qingtong called out to him. Wait. Luo Qingtong threw a token over. This is the Platinum Order of the Blackfield. Take it back to Yan Yang. Under the High Lord, none of the city lords of the Blackfield main cities would dare to be disrespectful. Let Yan Yang take this Platinum Order. If anyone dares to make things difficult for her in the Blackfield main cities, show them this order. Don't let anyone bully her. There were all kinds of forces in the 4 great holy dynasties. In the Blackfield main cities, there were even more forces coming and going. Luo Qingtong naturally wouldn't let her people be bullied. Yan Yang and the others were burdened with her great reputation and had just arrived. Who knew if someone would come to provoke them and look for trouble? After all, not everyone had such good eyesight. There were always those who didn't know what was good for them and wanted to test her tolerance. This Platinum Order was something that Luo Qingtong had asked Yi Qianxian for a Blackfield order so that it would be easier for Yan Yang and the others to do things. The latter had directly asked Bei Qing to give it to them. Originally, Yi Qianxian had thought that Luo Qingtong wanted to use it for herself and was preparing to give it to his High Lord order. After all, only his closest confidants could recognize the 9 Phoenix Ring. Chapter 6:14. However, Luo Qingtong had said that she was going to give it to Yan Yang and the others, so Yi Qianxian had asked Bei Qing to give it to them. This token was different from the other platinum tokens. Only Luo Qingtong's designated people could use it, and as long as she didn't want to give it to them, she could take it back at any time. It was Luo Qingtong's exclusive token. Yes. That person from the Blackfield branch received the Blackfield Platinum token with a shocked expression. For a moment, he felt as if his palm was boiling hot. It was as if what he was holding in his hand wasn't a platinum token, but a rare treasure. Wasn't this a rare treasure? The Blackfield's platinum token. Once the platinum token was taken out, all the city lords of the major cities would welcome it and open all 7 gates. They would enjoy all kinds of privileges and honor in the Blackfield. It was said that even the royal family of the 4 great holy dynasties only had 1 platinum token, and they wouldn't use it easily. On the other hand, an ordinary Saint Realm expert would only be able to obtain a gold token. From this, it could be seen how precious this platinum token was. And his mistress had given one to him with just a raise of her hand. If not for the fact that this person from the Blackfield branch had followed Luo Qingtong for a long time and knew that his mistress's actions were different from ordinary people, he would have been scared out of his wits. However, things weren't any better now. That battle slave expert from the Blackfield branch left as if he was sleepwalking. Luo Qingtong took the package in her hands and returned to her room. She opened the package in her hands and saw a furry figure wrapped in a large cocoon, curled up into a ball. Snowball. Seeing the light ball in the package, Luo Qingtong's heart was filled with indescribable surprise. It was actually a snowball. It was a small divine sky-connecting beast. She gave it to Su Yu so that she could bring it to the far west wastelands to train and grow. At the same time, she could also protect the other party's little fellow. What's wrong with it? Luo Qingtong looked at the snowball wrapped in light. The latter's figure was obviously much bigger and taller than before he left. If the little sky-connecting divine beast was like a furry snowball before, then it was like a big furry ball now. It was unknown how fluffy its snow-white fur was. It looked very smooth and not prickly at all. This guy is about to enter the growth stage. Little Pig popped out of nowhere and looked at Snowball's figure wrapped in white light. His eyes were filled with envy and jealousy. This little furball was about to enter the growth stage, but he was still so round and cute. He didn't have the slightest bit of the demeanor of an ancient divine beast. How could he endure this? Little Pig looked at himself. He had been eating, drinking, and sleeping every day in the Luo family. It was obvious that his body had gained 2 rounds of weight. His heart was filled with grief and indignation. Growth stage. Luo Qingtong was flabbergasted. Entering the growth stage meant that Snowball was about to become a real sky-connecting divine beast. Although its strength couldn't be compared to those powerful adult divine beasts, it already possessed the might and aura of a divine beast. But how could it be so fast? How long has it been? How could this little fellow enter the growth stage? Didn't they say that divine beasts needed a long time to enter the growth stage? Yes, it's in the growth stage. It must have obtained some kind of opportunity with Su Yu in the far west wastelands. That's why it started to transform and enter the growth stage so quickly. Little Pig said. He was filled with envy and jealousy again. Why was this furball's luck so good? Something that could make a divine beast enter the growth stage early must be an extremely precious treasure. Originally, the heavenly Tao was going to kill him because of his heavenly vain physique. If anything happened to his soul, then the heavenly Tao would have an even greater opportunity to take advantage of it. Alright, I got it. Powerful soul force, right? Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and made a mental note of this. However, this thing was not easy to get. It either required the soul force of a Sage Realm expert or an extremely powerful Sage Realm magical artifact that contained soul force. These 2 things were not easy to find. She would have to depend on her luck when the time came. However, since the snowball was sent back, would Su Yu's strength be insufficient? Thinking of the danger in the far west wilderness, Luo Qingtong thought for a moment and raised her hand to summon the people from the heavenly evil valley. She ordered them to go to the far west wilderness to find Su Yu. Chapter 6:16. As for the Luo family, there were people from the Black Field watching over them, so nothing would happen. What's more, old man Luo was not here, so there was no point for them to stay in the Luo family. They might as well go to the far west wilderness to gain experience. At that time, their strength would increase, and Suyu would have people to help them. In the end, strength and influence were the foundation. If they stayed in the Luo family, they would only be staying in seclusion. On the contrary, going to the far west wilderness was an excellent opportunity for them. In the future, how could the Luo family be limited to this low-level eastern fence country? Luo Qingtong did not forget that old man Luo had told her before that the Luo family used to be an aristocratic family with a sole master inheritance. Among the 4 great sacred dynasties, there were very few such families and forces that had a sole master inheritance. Each and every one of them was a colossal existence, comparable to the sacred dynasty's royal family. Among them, Luo Qingtong had checked, and there was no family with the surname Luo. Obviously, the Luo family's origin was not simple. It was unknown why they were stranded in the eastern fence country. Since that was the case, Luo Qingtong naturally wanted to increase the Luo family's strength as much as possible. No matter what, since she had become Luo Qingtong, received her body, and recognized old man Luo as her grandfather, then she would protect the Luo family. Luo Qingtong had refined all the guns of the Luo family's iron army. These guns with spirit energy conversion inscriptions were her own creation. She added the aura of the Luo family's people to the inscriptions. Other than them, even if others obtained these guns, they would not be able to use them. If someone wanted to forcefully break the inscriptions, the aura on the guns would immediately explode, blowing the guns and the surroundings into pieces. This was a great killing weapon refined by Luo Qingtong, so she naturally would not let others take advantage of it. In addition, Luo Qingtong also made use of the instability of the inscriptions to fiddle with some things similar to spirit energy bombs. As long as the Luo family's iron army injected their aura, these spirit energy bombs would immediately explode. When necessary, they could use it to save lives. They naturally couldn't kill those powerful experts, but the same couldn't be said for the people below. This was very useful for the Luo family's iron army. Luo Qingtong believed that Suyu would make good use of these things. After preparing everything and sending off the Luo clan's iron army and the people of Evil Valley, Luo Qingtong brought little tyrant Yuan, Lingyu, and the others to Tianyu branch to participate in the annual year-end examination. At the same time, he was also a student of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. On that day, all the students in the branch schools would fight for the opportunity to enter the top 10 of the genius ranking and obtain the qualification to enter the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. Once they entered the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, it would be like a carp leaping over the Dragon Gate. They would be able to get rid of their original identities and enter the Empire of Qin's holy dynasty to become geniuses. At that time, they could be considered to have truly entered the core of the True Spill continent. The True Spill continent was divided into 4 regions. The eastern region was rich, the western region was desolate, the southern region was mysterious, and the northern region was close to the sea. Among these regions, the eastern region was the most prosperous. There were 4 holy dynasties, many empires, and countless small countries. Entering the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin meant entering the Empire of Qin's holy dynasty. They would be able to compete with the proud sons of heaven of the other holy dynasties. The most outstanding of them would become famous in the eastern region, and together with the peerless geniuses of the 4 holy academies, they would be able to compete with the other 4 regions. This was the beginning of a magnificent life. And the legend of Luo Qingtong and her team would begin from here. Chapter 617. Bang! In Tianyu Branch Academy, where the elite class were cultivating in seclusion, there was a loud explosion. In the next second, an extremely powerful energy fluctuation suddenly came from one of the secret rooms. Martial King Realm. Feeling the terrifying energy coming from the secret room, the surrounding elite class students cried out in surprise. With the year-end examination around the corner, many people came here to cultivate in seclusion. After all, this was the Tianyu Supermonastery's place for seclusion. The surrounding spiritual energy was abundant. At the same time, there were many cultivation experiences left behind by the previous geniuses. It was extremely beneficial to a cultivator's cultivation. At this moment, feeling the energy coming from the secret room, many people cried out in surprise. It's Senior Jean. That secret room is where Senior Jean Haoping cultivated in seclusion. That's right, I saw Senior Jean Haoping go in. Martial King Realm. I didn't expect Senior Jean to break through to Martial King Realm. Yeah. It seems that Senior Jean and the others have benefited a lot from this trip to the Kaiyuan's secret realm. No wonder they are ranked in the top 10 on the genius list. Yeah. I heard that the top 10 students who came out of the Kaiyuan's secret realm, except for the crippling Tianhan, have more or less improved their strength. Especially Senior Jean Haoping, I didn't expect him to break through to Martial King Realm. You know, the fifth prince, Yuan Mo, was a genius, but he didn't break through to Martial King Realm when he entered the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Yeah. But that's because the fifth prince didn't enter the Kaiyuan secret realm, right? Otherwise, with his talent, his strength would be much higher. After all, he is the only heaven-grade student who entered the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin in all these years. You know, even in the Saint Dynasty of the Empire of Qin, there are not many geniuses who can achieve such results. That's true. I heard that the fifth prince was a martial lord, but even an ordinary martial king was no match for him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been evaluated as a heaven-grade freshman. Just as the group of people were chatting away, there was a sudden boom as another aura exploded out from the depths of the seclusion grounds. Another martial king realm. Everyone's eyes bulged when they felt the aura that was being released. That seems to be where Senior Sister is cultivating in seclusion. Someone said hesitantly. Senior Sister sure. She broke through to Martial King Realm. My God. This is going to be interesting. 2 Martial Emperor Realm cultivators. I'm afraid the end-of-year examination of our Tianyu branch will be a fierce battle. It will shock the world. I wonder how shocked the instructors of the Great Qin Sacred Academy will be when they come to recruit new students. Ha! One had to know that in the Great Qin Sacred Dynasty, a new student of the Martial King Realm was considered to be extremely talented. Normally, when the Grand Qin Sacred Academy encounters such students, they would be directly recruited. Senior Sister Shi and Senior Brother Jean are definitely going to enter the Great Qin Sacred Academy. Let's see which one of them is the real number 1 in the year-end assessment. Yeah. The crowd kept chiming in. In the headquarters of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, the Grand Supreme Dean, who had rushed back from the land beyond the clouds, was shocked when he saw Chu Lingfeng. Chapter 6:18. How did you get my recommendation card? Looking at Chu Lingfeng, the Grand Supreme Dean was hopping mad. My master gave it to me, Chu Lingfeng answered honestly. The Grand Supreme Dean was hopping mad. This little child of the evil doctor really didn't play by the rules. How could she give away the purple recommendation card he gave her so casually? If she wanted another one, she could ask him for another one. As long as she was willing to come to the Empire of Qin's Holy Academy, it wouldn't be a problem for her to get a few recommendation cards. The Grand Supreme Dean was anxious. He glared at Chu Lingfeng and said, "Tell me your master's name and where he is." Then he would be able to get her into the academy. I don't know, Chu Lingfeng said with a stiff face. There was no way he could get information from him. Not to mention that he didn't know his master's identity at all, even if he knew, he wouldn't tell them. Everything about his master was top secret. Unless his master allowed it, he would never reveal it to anyone else. Chu Lingfeng was only a big wolf dog in front of Luo Qingtong. In front of others, he was a wolf. Moreover, he was the kind that didn't recognize his own family and only recognized Luo Qingtong. He was so stubborn. The Grand Supreme Dean looked at Chu Lingfeng's expression that said, "I won't say it, even if you beat me to death, I won't say it." He glared at him and was about to curse. "I'm not going to harm your master. He just wanted to take in a genius student. Was it so difficult?" One had to know that the evil doctor's medical skills were amazing. Only now did he know that she was also an alchemist. If he had known, he wouldn't have pretended to be an expert. He would have just given her 8 or 10 recommendation cards and let her give them to anyone she wanted. As long as she was willing to come to the Empire of Qin's Holy Academy. Thinking of this, the Grand Supreme Dean beat his feet and stomped his chest. However, no matter how he threatened and tempted, Chu Lingfeng, this simple-minded big fool, just ignored him. He kept saying, "I don't know." The Grand Supreme Dean threatened to expel him from the Empire of Qin's Holy Academy if he didn't say it. In the end, he turned around and left without another word. "Your sister? What kind of master and servant were they?" The Grand Supreme Dean glared at Chu Lingfeng. How could he dare to let him go? If he was really expelled from the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, the Grand Principal was sure that the evil doctor would leave without hesitation if he knew about it. Only by keeping this blockhead would his master be able to stay. Moreover, Chu Lingfeng was quite talented. Not long after he entered the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, he had almost become the #1 figure in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin by fighting. There were very few freshmen who could do this. Before Chu Lingfeng, only Yuan Ma was in the limelight. And Chu Lingfeng's limelight was even greater than Yuan Ma's. Yuan Mo was only in the limelight among his batch of freshmen. Chu Lingfeng, on the other hand, had almost defeated the entire Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Speaking of this batch of new lunatics, the geniuses of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin thought of him first. He fought crazily and couldn't be killed no matter what. The more he fought, the crazier he became, which made people feel a little scared. Many of the geniuses of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin were now avoiding him. The Grand Supreme Dean wouldn't expel Chu Lingfeng unless there was something wrong with his brain. He couldn't do anything to this blockhead. He could only gnash his teeth and let him go. But soon, the Grand Supreme Dean thought of something. Chapter 6:19. It was a last resort. The Grand Dean quickly found Elder Chu's information. After skimming through it, his eyes fixed on the 3 words, Luo Qingtong. Could it be this little girl? He shook his head in thought. Seeing that Luo Qingtong was from a low-level marquis's mansion, he did not dare to confirm her identity. Whether it is or not, I'll go and take a look first. Thinking of this, he immediately found the supervisor in charge of the entrance examination to Tianyu Branch School and asked him to bring him to Tianyu Branch School. However, this matter could not be made public, in case too many people wanted to visit him. He found it troublesome. At the same time, in the seclusion room of Tianyu Branch School. In the depths of the seclusion room where Shi Qingqing was. Looking at the aura around her, she felt proud and a little regretful. It's a pity that I can't break through to the intermediate Martial King realm. However, Shi Qingqing was already very satisfied with her strength. At least it was 1 step higher than the initial Martial King realm. Before this, she had never thought that she could break through to the Martial King realm and even advance further. This 100 ghost streamer is indeed powerful. I wonder what level of treasure it is. Shi Qingqing looked at the 100 ghost streamer in her hand. The more she cultivated, the more she could feel the power of this 100 ghost streamer. Through this 100 ghost streamer, she immediately grasped all the martial skills and combat experience of a Martial King realm malicious ghost. Her strength of the Martial King realm was not superficial at all. It was very solid. If not for the lack of time, she might be able to reach the intermediate Martial King realm through this 100-ghost streamer. However, it did not matter. Even if she did not reach that level of strength, she could temporarily exert that kind of power through the 100-ghost streamer. This 100-ghost streamer is already so powerful, and it might be a treasure above the sage realm. As Shi Qingqing thought of this, the charming expression on her face became prouder and prouder. With this 100-ghost streamer, the first place of this year's year-end examination will definitely be mine. Luo Qingtong, thank you for giving to me this opportunity. After I win the 5th prince's heart, I will definitely bring him to pay respects to you on the anniversary of your death. I only hope that you won't vomit blood and anger when you're underground. Shi Qingqing said with a proud smile. She raised her hand and stroked her hair. Then, she walked out of the secret room with graceful steps. Senior Shi. Everyone was pleasantly surprised when they saw her walk out. Immediately, some people came up to her and said respectfully, "Congratulations, Senior Sister Shi, for breaking through to the Martial King realm. You and Senior Brother Jean will be the champion of this year's year-end assessment." Congratulations, Senior Sister. Yeah, Martial King realm. Senior Sister Shi is so awesome. Previously, when little Tyrant Yuan and the others returned, they even said that Senior Sister Shi and the others wanted to harm them. How laughable. With Senior Sister Shi and the others' strength, why would they need to harm a few trashy students? Exactly. He was overestimating himself. I think they are deliberately trying to slander Senior Shi and the others. Weren't Yuanhu and the others close to Luo Qingtong? I heard that they even called Luo Qingtong boss. I think they are holding a grudge against Senior Shi and the others for assigning Luo Qingtong to the trashy class. That's why they are deliberately slandering Senior Shi and the others. Exactly. These people from the trashy class are really disgusting. Their strength is not enough, so they use these unorthodox tricks. If you ask me, it would be better if they really died in the Kaiyuan secret realm. Chapter 620. Luo Qingtong and the others didn't die. She didn't expect them to be so lucky that they didn't die. But it was good that they didn't die. She was worried that Luo Qingtong died too early and there was no way for her to vent her hatred. Thinking of this, the light in Shi Qingqing's eyes became incomparably vicious. You know it too, right? Luo Qingtong and the others didn't die. Somewhere in Tianyu Branch Courtyard, Shi Qingqing found Zhang Haoping. The latter had just come out of seclusion and received the news. Hearing this, his face became gloomy. I didn't expect them to be so lucky that they didn't die. Zhang Haoping gritted his teeth. Humph. It's good that they didn't die. Shi Qingqing sneered and sneered, Luo Qingtong almost killed us in the Kaiyuan secret realm. If we weren't lucky, we would have been besieged to death by those dead souls. Don't you want to take revenge on her? Speaking of this, she sneered, previously, we were afraid of her strength. But now that our strength has increased to the Martial King realm, we don't have to be afraid of her anymore. Moreover, we don't know what injuries she suffered in the Kaiyuan secret realm. Otherwise, she would have come to settle the score with us after leaving the Kaiyuan secret realm. Since she didn't come, it means that she doesn't dare to do anything to us. However, Shi Qingqing didn't know that the reason why Luo Qingtong didn't come back to deal with them was that the imperial family of Tianyu had attacked the Luo family. Otherwise, this group of people would have long been deader than dead. There would be no chance for her to be arrogant here. You mean? Zhang Haoping looked at her. Ha! Shi Qingqing chuckled. I heard that when little Overlord Yuan and the others came back, they went to find the mentors and said that we wanted to harm them in the Kaiyuan secret realm. But they were chased out by the mentors. You said. If they overestimated themselves and wanted to participate in this year's year-end assessment to take revenge on us, wouldn't they deserve to be beaten to death in the arena? Speaking of this, Shi Qingqing's gentle and elegant face was indescribably cold and vicious. They overestimated themselves. Even if they died, they would have died in vain. And we were forced to take action. Even if we killed them, there was nothing we could do. I believe that the instructors of the Academy and the examiners of the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin will understand us. What do you think? Shi Qingqing's words were very obvious. She wanted to take advantage of the end-of-year assessment to scheme against Luo Qintong and the others. She wanted them to register for the end-of-year assessment. At that time, they could openly kill Luo Qintong and the others in the ring. In any case, when others talked about it, they would only say that Luo Qintong and the others had overestimated themselves and were seeking their own deaths. As for them, they would be able to get rid of all future troubles. Otherwise, with Luo Qintong's strength, she would be a great disaster. She must not be allowed to live. As soon as Shi Qingqing said that, Zhang Haoping's face instantly lit up with a smile. Good. Junior sister Shi is indeed resourceful. He smiled sinisterly and said, I'll immediately go find the teacher to make arrangements and let him put Luo Qintong and the others' names on the list for the end-of-year assessment. At that time, we'll say that they registered themselves. At that time, we'll ruthlessly humiliate them in the ring and then kill them. Ha! As he said that, he laughed and left. And Shi Qingqing also left with a sweet smile on her face. Chapter 621. What's going on? Looking at the notice in their hands, little Tyrant Yuan and the others were surprised. What was going on? They hadn't even gone to register yet. Why did the notice for the year-end examination come out? Who would give these freshmen, who had just entered the academy, a notice for the year-end assessment? Is there a mistake? Little Tyrant Yuan asked. I'll go ask. Before he could finish his sentence, Ling Yu and Ling Tianhan walked in with cold faces. It's not a mistake. Yes, your names are on it. Ling Tianhan said coldly, the whole academy is talking about it. They say that you guys overestimate yourselves and are vicious. You came back to accuse Shi Qingqing and the others but failed, so you want to cause trouble in the year-end examination to take revenge on Shi Qingqing and the others. Before he could finish his words, Ling Yu lashed her whip fiercely in the air and said angrily, right now, everyone in the academy is saying that you deserve it. When you die on the arena, you can't blame anyone else. Some people even said that they will teach you a lesson for daring to attack Shi Qingqing and the others who want to win glory for the academy. I'm so angry. Ling Yu couldn't hold back her temper. If it wasn't for my big brother stopping me and telling me not to bother with these stupid people who are being used by others, I would have whipped them to death. Bastards! She gritted her teeth and said, this is definitely done by Shi Qingqing and the others. That woman, on the surface, looks elegant and gentle, but in fact, she is more vicious than anyone. When we were in danger in the Kaiyuan mystic realm, it was Shi Qingqing who first suggested to push us to our deaths to block those dead souls. At this point, Ling Yu gnashed her teeth in anger. This time, the list included Little Tyrant Yuan, Luo Qintong, Sima Ju, and Su Xiaoxiao's names, but only her name wasn't on the list. Wasn't that enough to prove everything? This was clearly a conspiracy by Shi Qingqing and the others. They wanted to kill Luo Qintong and the others in the year-end examination so that they wouldn't be able to do anything after entering the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. These bastards, their thoughts were too insidious. Not only did they want to kill Luo Qintong and the others, but they also wanted to make Luo Qintong and the others take the blame, making people think that they were courting death. At that time, Shi Qingqing and the others would be able to attack without any burden. These bastards wanted to deal with Luo Qintong and the others, and they also wanted a good reputation. They really took all the benefits. Why don't they go to heaven? Ling Yu really wanted to rush in front of Shi Qingqing and the others right now and give them a good beating. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly as she listened to their conversation. If Shi Qingqing and the others dare to do this, they must have something to rely on, right? Her expression was indifferent. Back in the Kai Yuan mystic realm, when Shi Qingqing and the others faced her, they fled in panic like dogs. If it wasn't for the large number of dead souls blocking her attack, Shi Qingqing and the others would have been killed on the spot by her sword. How could they leave the Kaiyuan mystic realm and return to the Tianyu branch? Not to mention destroying the light door. Wasn't it because they were afraid that she would come back alive to deal with them? Now that they dared to be so arrogant, they must have received some benefits. Chapter 622. Yes. Ling Tianhan nodded solemnly. Shi Qingqing and Zhan Haoping have both broken through to the Martial King realm. The others have almost reached the peak of the Martial Lord realm. This year's batch of Tianyu branch students was really the peak in history. When Yu Wenma and the others were admitted to the Empire of Qin Holy Academy, they weren't even this strong. The opening of the secret realm of Kaiyuan really benefited many students. Shi Qingqing and the others became so arrogant because of this. Otherwise, with their previous strength, how would they dare to scheme against Luo Qingtong? When they heard that the latter didn't die and had returned to Tianyu branch, they would have been so scared that they fell to the ground. Martial King realm. The smile in Luo Qingtong's eyes was obvious. No wonder. No wonder they dared to be so arrogant. Did they think their strength was enough to deal with him? Humph. A bunch of idiots. Little Tyrant Yuan said with disdain. They really think their Martial King realm is powerful. They don't know your strength, or they would have peed their pants. When he said this, he suddenly laughed. Hey, what do you think if Shi Qingqing and the others wanted to deal with Boss, but found out that Boss's strength completely crushed them? What kind of expression would they have? A bunch of pigs. They thought their strength could crush Boss. At that time, they would know how to write the word death. Thinking of this, Little Tyrant Yuan was no longer angry. Sima Ju, Su Xiaoxiao, Ling Yu, and Ling Tianhan also laughed. Shi Qingqing and the others probably don't know that we came back this time for the year-end examination. They even schemed against us to participate in the year-end examination. What is this called? Sleepy meeting a pillow. Lifting a rock and smashing their own feet. Ling Yu, was also amused as she spoke. She put away the whip in her hand. No, I have to go and sign up quickly. Shi Qingqing and the others are afraid of offending our Ling family, so I didn't have a part in this scheme. My name isn't on the list for the year-end examination. At that time, I can't let all of you be in the limelight. Qingtong and my big brother will deal with Shi Qingqing and Zhan Haoping. We can't let the people below go. They won't even get a single spot in the top 10 of the year-end assessment. Ling Yu said, and like a whirlwind, she rushed out. Seeing this, Luo Qingtong and the others burst into laughter. When Luo Qingtong and the others received the notice of the end-of-year assessment, Shi Qingqing entered the dean's office with a look of surprise and nervousness. She had only just found out that the Saint Realm expert from the Empire of Qin who had come to Tianyu branch wanted to see her. A Saint Realm expert. This was a senior teacher of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. As a heaven-grade freshman, Yuan Mo's strength was extraordinary. After entering the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, he was recognized by a Saint Realm teacher by chance and was accepted as a last disciple. He hadn't expected that a Saint Realm expert would want to see him. Shi Qingqing was pleasantly surprised and pleased. Dean, Saint Realm expert. Shi Qingqing walked gracefully to the two people in the room and bowed respectfully. You may rise. Looking at Shi Qingqing, the Saint Realm expert nodded in satisfaction. After dealing with the matters at Tianyu branch, he was prepared to leave. Chapter 623. An expert who had surpassed the Saint Realm like the Grand Dean was not someone that ordinary people could meet. This Saint Realm expert naturally did not want to miss the opportunity. But he did not expect to find Shi Qingqing, such a good seedling. Soul-devouring constitution, special soul seal. Vaguely sensing Shi Qingqing's constitution, the Saint Realm expert nodded with satisfaction. Very good, not bad. I didn't expect you to be able to awaken your soul seal. And the type and level of your soul seal are so good. Self-awakening. Level. Shi Qingqing keenly understood the hidden meaning in the Saint Realm expert's words. Wasn't the soul seal something innate? How could it be awakened after birth? And the soul seal had a level. Shi Qingqing didn't know about this. The difference in foundation between the Tianyu branch and the Great Qin Sacred Academy's main school was huge. Judging from this Saint Realm expert's words, he seemed to be very interested in her soul seal. Shi Qingqing became excited at the thought of this. Saint Realm expert, you flatter me. Shi Qingqing clenched her hands nervously and said, I don't know what happened. I suddenly awakened my soul seal. In fact, the ability of her soul seal was given to her by the 100 Ghost Streamer. She did not know what level the 100 Ghost Streamer was. It was so powerful. Even though it was damaged, it still had such an ability. It was definitely a treasure that even a Saint Realm expert coveted. Thinking of this, Shi Qingqing replied very carefully. Yes. The Saint Realm expert nodded and did not ask any more questions. He just looked at Shi Qingqing and said, Are you willing to be my unofficial disciple? Unofficial disciple. Unofficial disciple of a Saint Realm expert? Shi Qingqing's heart thumped wildly. This was the unofficial disciple of a Saint Realm expert. Although it was not as good as the last disciple, it was not easy to become the last disciple of a Saint Realm expert. Even with Yu Wenmao's talent and strength, after entering the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, he was taken in as the last disciple of a Saint Realm instructor by chance. Shi Qingqing knew that if it were not for her soul-devouring constitution, this Saint Realm expert would not even look at her. After all, her strength was not so strong before. But things were different now. With the 100 Ghost Banner and the soul-devouring physique, he would only become stronger and stronger. At that time, how difficult would it be to become a closed-door disciple? Shi Qingqing immediately knelt down in front of the Saint Realm expert and said with joy, I'm willing, Qingqing is willing. Teacher, please accept Qingqing's bow. Yes, very good. The Saint Realm expert looked at the joyful expression on Shi Qingqing's face and felt very pleased. Your soul-devouring body is pretty good. You can display the strength of a medium-level martial king with the strength of a lower-level martial king. If nothing unexpected happens, you should be the first in this year's year-end exam. Remember not to be arrogant, lest others take advantage of you and embarrass me. Yes. Teacher, I will definitely remember this. Shi Qingqing agreed with a smile. Then she thought of the matter with Luo Qingtong and the others. She did not want this Saint Realm expert to have a bad impression of her, so she immediately changed her appearance and told him about this matter. In her words, Luo Qingtong and the others were vile people who had plotted against her in the Kaiyuan Mystery Land and slandered her after they came out. Chapter 624. So what? They're just a few blind students. You can teach them a lesson if you want. I'll take responsibility for everything. That Saint Realm expert didn't care about this matter at all. Shi Qingqing was his disciple. He would not allow anyone to bully her. Since those students had plotted against her, they should pay the price. As for Shi Qingqing's tampering with the list of candidates for the year-end assessment, it was just a small matter. Thinking of this, he immediately waved his hand with an indifferent look on his face. After hearing his words, Shi Qingqing's face was full of smiles. Her eyes were full of pride as she walked out of the door of the dean's office. Luo Qingtong, just wait to die. This year-end assessment will be the most humiliating and miserable place for you to die. Shi Qingqing had planned everything. She would let Luo Qingtong and the others die in grievance and disdain in the year-end assessment. While Shi Qingqing was feeling very proud, in the dormitory of the lower class of Tianyu branch, Luo Qingtong asked little tyrant Yuan and the others to protect her while she began to heal the injuries in her meridians. Previously, when she was healing Yi Qianxian, although the man stopped her for a moment, Luo Qingtong's meridians, which had not been healed, were torn apart again. However, Luo Qingtong also gained some benefits. In the Kaiyuan's secret realm, she had forcibly raised her mid-level martial king strength and completely consolidated it. At this moment, her aura was extremely solid. She only needed to wait for the right opportunity to break through to the upper-level martial king realm. Swoosh! A bloody light appeared in Luo Qingtong's eyes. She activated her pupil technique and began to repair her meridians. At the same time, she imprisoned a trace of Yi Qianxian's aura. She found that after the man's aura entered her body and entered her meridians, it seemed to be purified and turned into the purest spiritual qi. No wonder Yi Qianxian's power could improve her strength. Luo Qingtong tried to absorb a trace of little tyrant Yuan and the others' power, but found that their power was still their power in her body. It did not turn into her own power like Yi Qianxian's. This was strange. Only Yi Qianren's power could do it. Luo Qingtong's eyes twitched when she thought of what the man had said. She was the only one who could absorb his power. It seemed that there was indeed a secret in his body. And this secret had something to do with Yi Qianxian's heavenly veins constitution. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong fell into deep thought. He didn't know if this was brought over from the 24th century or if this body originally had a secret. If this body was already there, it was most likely related to the Luo family. Otherwise, it was related to his cheap mother. Thinking of the original owner's mother, Luo Qingtong frowned. The other party's background seemed to be very mysterious. Grandfather Luo had always been secretive about the host's parents. She didn't know if it was because he was afraid that she would be sad if she heard it. Luo Qingtong originally wanted to find a chance to ask Grandfather Luo, but before she could speak, the old man was taken away by the flying phoenix mark. When this matter at the Tianyu branch school was over, she would go to the Chu sacred dynasty and ask about this matter clearly. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong suddenly immersed herself in the repair of her meridians. Just as Luo Qingtong was healing her meridians, in the Tianyu branch school, the annual end-of-year examination had completely begun. Buzz. Chapter 625. All the arrays in Tianyu branch were activated, making the buildings in Tianyu branch look extremely luxurious, like a fairyland. This was the annual grand event of Tianyu branch and a major event of the entire Tianyu Empire. Many forces of the Tianyu Empire would come to watch the end-of-year examination on this day. At the same time, they wanted to see who had entered the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. The status of the students who entered the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin would be greatly improved in the Tianyu Empire. The gate of Tianyu branch was surrounded by carriages of aristocratic families. The guards at the gate of Tianyu branch announced their names one by one. At this moment, a voice sounded. Duke Ling's mansion of the Tianyu Empire is here. As this voice resounded, the surroundings instantly fell silent. Duke Ling's mansion. Everyone knew about the recent changes in the imperial capital of the Tianyu Empire. The imperial family of the Tianyu Empire was destroyed and Duke Ling's mansion took the throne. The people of Duke Ling's mansion had already moved to the imperial capital and became the new ruler of the Tianyu Empire. The reason why they were still using the name of Duke Ling's mansion was that they hadn't received the letter of request from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Once they were recognized by the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, the Ling family would be the new imperial family of the Tianyu Empire. And it was time to change the name of the Tianyu Empire. Seeing Duke Ling and the others get off the carriages, the masters of aristocratic families all gathered around them. If it were another aristocratic family, even if they destroyed the imperial family of the Tianyu Empire, it wouldn't be so easy for them to become the new emperor of the Tianyu Empire. But the Ling family had the support of evil Dr. Ghost Eye. It was said that even the Lanhua family had helped them. With such an honor, the Ling family's position was as stable as Mount Tai. Unless something happened to evil Dr. Ghost Eye or the Ling family fell out with evil Dr. Ghost Eye, the aristocratic families of the Tianyu Empire wouldn't dare to act rashly even if they coveted the supreme throne. They could only watch the Ling family take the throne with envy and jealousy. They really didn't know what kind of luck they had. Out of so many people, evil physician Gui Tong only picked them to be the successors of Tianyu's royal family. Even as a puppet, there were many aristocratic families in the Tianyu Empire who wanted to win Ghost Eye's favor. Just as the people from the aristocratic families were greeting Duke Ling and the others with envy and jealousy, the voice of the guard from Tianyu branch sounded again. The Yanyu family of the Tianyu Empire is here. Following this voice, the group of people immediately turned their heads to look at the path they had come from. The Lanhua family's carriage appeared before everyone's eyes. It was a carriage that only the family head of the direct line of descent could ride. The old master of the Lanhua family. Seeing the carriage stop at the entrance of the Tianyu Branch Academy and Elder Lanhua walk out from it, everyone immediately cried out in alarm. Old Duke Ling, on the other hand, immediately went up to greet him with a smile when he saw Old Master Yanyu get off the carriage. Ha! Old Master, I didn't expect you to come too. He said with a smile, you're also here for that person, right? Speaking of that person, Old Duke Ling's heart was filled with emotions. He didn't expect it at all. The evil Dr. Ghost Eye that he admired so much turned out to be Luo Qintong from the eastern border country. How many people underestimated the strength and ability of the daughter of a marquis from a low-level country? Chapter 626. If Luo Qintong hadn't been willing to reveal it herself, old Duke Ling would never have guessed it even if he racked his brains. When he heard the news from his grandson, he thought they were joking. After confirming that it was true, he felt like he was living in a dream for a period of time. Damn, this world was too fantastical. Old Duke Lanhua was no less surprised than him. When Luo Qintong asked him for help, she didn't deliberately hide her identity. In addition, Xiaoxi was rescued in Nine Magi Mountain. With the Lanhua family's ability, they could naturally find out Luo Qintong's identity. They didn't expect that Luo Qintong was the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. The people of Tianyu's imperial family were really digging their own graves. If they had treated the Luo family and Luo Qintong better back then, they wouldn't have ended up like this. When old Duke Lanhua heard that Luo Qintong was going to participate in the Tianyu branch's end-of-year examination, he naturally came to support her. Old Duke Lanhua's arrival surprised everyone in the Tianyu branch. One had to know that the Lanhua family's foundation was extraordinary. The disciples of the Lanhua family were all directly admitted to the Empire of Qin Saint Court to cultivate. As for the young master of the Lanhua family, he was even more amazing. That was someone at the level of a peerless genius. The place where he was located was something that even the Empire of Qin Saint Court couldn't reach. Under such circumstances, old Duke Lanhua's appearance in the Tianyu branch immediately caused the entire school to move out. Everyone crowded around old Duke Lanhua and appeared in the stands next to the end-of-year examination arena. Under the envious and jealous gazes of everyone, old Duke Ling was invited by old Duke Lanhua and sat directly next to him. One had to know that that was the seat of the first row. It was also the seat where the people of the Empire of Qin Saint Court would sit. Even the dean of the Tianyu branch wasn't qualified to sit there. However, with old Master Lanhua's invitation, old Duke Ling was able to secure a seat among them. And all of this was because of Luo Qingtong. Old Duke Ling sat there and was very clear in his heart. As for the aristocratic families of the Tianyu Empire, seeing Master Lan Yue's actions, they no longer had any thoughts of opposing the Ling family. With the support of evil Dr. Ghost Eye and the help of the Lan Yue family, the Ling family was definitely going to sit on the throne. While everyone was heading to the spectator stands, the people from the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin also arrived. Screech! An incomparably sharp cry rang out, and then an incomparably ferocious and mighty bird appeared in front of everyone. Rank 8 Demonic Beast. Looking at the huge bird that seemed to contain incomparable power descending from the sky, the surrounding people suddenly let out a burst of exclamations. A rank 8 monstrous beast. That was a powerful monstrous beast comparable to a martial ancestor. Once it reached tier 9, it would only be a step away from transforming into a divine beast. Some powerful 9th stage demonic beasts could even fight against Saint Realm experts. Seeing the huge rank 8 demonic beast descending with the people from the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin on its back, the people from the Tianyu branch finally realized how powerful the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin was. A random team sent to recruit students from the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin was already so powerful. How powerful was the real Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin? However, they were amazed in their hearts, but they didn't know that the leader of the team from the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin was full of helplessness. Grand Dean. Didn't you say that you were here to recruit students from the Tianyu branch? Chapter 627. Clang! 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 As the students of the Empire of Qin landed on the spectator stand, the bell that signaled the start of the end-of-year examination rang violently. Students of Tianyu branch began to head to the martial arts practice field in the center of the school. In the dormitory of the lower class, Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She raised her head to look outside and then closed her eyes again. What's the hurry? Let Shi Qingqing and the others be arrogant for a while. If I don't give them some hope, how will they know what despair is? Luo Qingtong liked to hunt down others when they were at their proudest. That kind of prey was the most delicious. Moreover, Shi Qingqing and the others. If I let them die so easily, how can I be worthy of them attacking me and the others? No matter what, I have to let them perform well. When they are satisfied with their performance, I'll go on the stage. Let's watch monkeys perform tricks. Isn't that right? Swish! Luo Qingtong raised her hand. A blood-red glow suddenly appeared in her eyes. A series of perfect moves flashed out from the screen. They were the cultivation methods and martial arts techniques that Luo Qingtong found from the bodies of the martial emperors when she killed the royal family of Tianyu. She could use this opportunity to familiarize herself with them. Cultivation methods and martial arts techniques. Who would complain about having too many? In particular, there were several cultivation methods of wind and thunder, which were suitable to be used together with the wind and thunder sword. After all, as her strength increased, she would have to hide the life and death yin-yang sword. A man's wealth is his own ruin. Luo Qingtong didn't forget Tian Mingzi's advice. Bang! 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 In the martial arts practice field of Tianyu branch, the fight was fierce. As soon as Shi Qingqing showed her strength, she suppressed the whole field. The people of Tianyu branch didn't expect her strength to become so strong. Her strength was close to that of a middle-level martial king. The students on the stage were no match for her. Bang! As Zhang Haoping was also kicked off the arena, Shi Qingqing's figure spun in the air above the arena. She looked at Zhang Haoping, who was crawling to his feet below the arena, and smiled. Senior brother Zhang, you admit it. Zhang Haoping remained silent with a cold face. Shi Qingqing's strength was not just a little bit stronger than his. Damn it, this woman had hidden herself too deeply. Seeing that Zhang Haoping, who had just entered the Martial King realm, was beaten off the stage, the Tianyu branch students were all shocked. Wow! Senior brother Zhang also lost. It looks like Senior Shi has really gotten first place in the year-end assessment this time. Yes. Senior sister Shi was too strong. By the way, where did Luo Qintong and the others go? They said they wanted to take part in the end-of-year assessment to take revenge on Senior Shi and the others. Don't tell me he got scared and ran away. I don't know, I think so too. Otherwise, why haven't they appeared yet? Speaking of which, these students from the trash class are really disgusting. They hate Senior Shi and the others. It's fine if they slander them, but they actually want to cause trouble for them during the end-of-year exam. Do they really think that senior sisters are easy to talk to because they're afraid of them? Exactly. This group of people, not to mention that their strength was trash, even their people were trash. Let's go and find him. Let's have some fun. As the group of people talked, many of them ran toward the dormitory of the lower class. The young girl's fiery figure set off her surging aura, instantly causing the people lying on the ground to forget their miserable cries. Medium Martial King Realm. Luo Qingtong's aura was even more tyrannical than Shi Qingqing's. Who said that Luo Qingtong and the others were overestimating themselves by participating in the end-of-year assessment? Who said that they were seeking their own deaths? Stand out, we guarantee that we won't kill you. Damn, this aura, this strength, who was the one seeking their own deaths? Everyone stared at Luo Qintong, but the latter directly turned around and walked past them. Chapter 629. In the arena of Tianyu branch, the top 10 of the year-end assessment had been decided. Shi Qingqing stood at the top and looked down at Zhang Haoping and the others. The top 10 of this year's year-end assessment were basically all their people. The top 10 students on the genius ranking who had entered the Kai Yuan mystic realm with her and survived had all stabilized their positions. Only 2 dark horses from the elite class had suddenly appeared. They must have had other opportunities in the Kai Yuan secret realm and had suddenly improved their strength by leaps and bounds. They had obtained the last 2 spots in the top 10. Looking at the people around her, Shi Qingqing's expression was elegant, but her eyes were full of pride. In the past, she had only been 7th on the genius list. Now, those who had been in the top 7 had to look up to her. The students of Tianyu branch were all under her feet. Luo Qingtong, all of this was thanks to your sword. When you appear later, I will definitely treat you well. Haha. The saint has good taste. The top of this year's year-end assessment is definitely Shi Qingqing. Congratulations to the saint for obtaining such a good disciple. In the stands, seeing Shi Qingqing standing alone and aloof from the world and no one dared to challenge her, the dean and the instructors of Tianyu branch all smiled and said to the saint from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Don't mention it. This is all thanks to Tianyu branch. It is rare for someone like Shi Qingqing to be able to rely on herself to awaken the soul seal so perfectly. Her future will definitely be limitless. Branch Dean, we should share the same joy. The Saint Realm expert smiled faintly. Hearing this, the Dean of Tianyu branch laughed as well. This is nothing. It's all thanks to the Kaiyuan secret realm. The Dean of Tianyu branch was very glad that he had shamelessly asked Song Qing to help him open the Kaiyuan secret realm. Speaking of which, Song Qing had disappeared after the light door had been destroyed. He had said that he was going to the Kaiyuan secret realm to find his precious disciple. Elder Song's disciple was among the people who had met with mishap in the Kaiyuan secret realm. The dean was very uneasy. Could it be Ling Tianhan or Ling Yu-er? Only this pair of brother and sister could possibly gain Elder Song's appreciation. Especially since the Ling family had obtained such a great fortune recently. Perhaps it was all thanks to Elder Song. Otherwise, how would they know the evil Dr. Ghost Eye? Did he get involved with the Lanhua family again? The more the branch dean thought about it, the more convinced he became. Unfortunately, he could not contact Elder Song. Otherwise, he could tell him that Ling Tianhan and Ling Yu were fine. Old Man Lanhua and Old Duke Ling just smiled at each other when the Tianyu branch principal was talking to that Saint Realm expert. Shi Qingqing was considered powerful. That was because they had yet to see the girl who was even more stunning than her. Thinking of Luo Qingtong's strength, the two men's faces showed a mocking smile. Unless Luo Qingtong didn't appear, the first place in the year-end assessment would never fall on Shi Qingqing's head. On the arena, the instructor in charge of the assessment raised his voice and shouted, "Is there anyone else who wants to challenge?" The top 10 of the year-end assessment had been decided. If there was no one else who wanted to challenge, the 10 of them would be the new students of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. The surroundings were quiet. The instructor in charge of the assessment asked 3 times in a row. Chapter 630. Isn't there a group of students from the trash class who said they wanted to challenge Senior Shi and the others? That's right. Why don't I see them? They probably know that Senior Shi and the others are too strong, so they admitted defeat. Haha. They signed up but didn't dare to participate. Luo Qingtong and the others are really shameless. That's right. The trash from the lower class should just obediently stay in the trash can. Why are they jumping around for no reason? It's a good thing they didn't come. Otherwise, even if they died in the arena this time, I'm afraid they deserved it. If I were Senior Shi and the others, I definitely wouldn't show mercy. So that I won't have to see some trash jumping around in the future. The group of people all talked at once. Among them, of course, many were arranged by Shi Qingqing. Just as the group of people were talking enthusiastically, the crowd of students from the academy suddenly retreated like Moses parting the sea. Da-da-da. White exquisite boots stepped on the ground, making an extremely rhythmic sound. Crisp and resounding. The girl's peerlessly beautiful face, coupled with the fiery red clothes on her body, made her look like a peerless goddess slowly stepping out of the flames. Every step seemed to be stepping on the tip of everyone's heart. She shed off the ordinary look that she usually deliberately restrained, and showed off her own peerless beauty. At this moment, Luo Qingtong was so beautiful that it made people suffocate. In this world, only she could wear the red clothes on her body, making it 3 parts coquettish and 7 parts bewitching. The young girl's face was hard to describe. She led little Tyrant Yuan and the others out from the back of the academy's students. Her domineering and ostentatious aura, as well as her stunning and enchanting aura, caused people to unconsciously back away. Some people should be born to be the overlords of this world. There was no need for words to make people submit. Luo Qingtong. It's Luo Qingtong and the others. The students from Tianyu branch turned their heads one by one. When they saw Luo Qingtong and little Tyrant Yuan and the others behind her, they immediately widened their eyes and opened their mouths wide. Oh my God! That's Luo Qingtong and the others. Are they from the trash class? Not to mention anything else, why is Yuan Little Overlord's aura so much stronger? And that fairy-like youth beside him, who is he? Isn't that little bunny-like girl Su Xiaoxiao? I remember that she loved to cry and was timid and shy. How did she become? Everyone was surprised to see Su Xiaoxiao following Luo Qingtong with a shy and strong face. Between her fingers, there were many bottles of liquid medicine, which she spun in the air like she was showing off her skills. The auras of countless medicinal liquids fused together. This wasn't Su Xiaoxiao deliberately showing off. Instead, she was following the aura emitted by the top 10 students of the year-end assessment on the arena in front of her and began to mix the proportions of the medicinal liquid in her hands. She was analyzing what kind of medicinal liquid would be the best combination to deal with the opponent. As a combat pharmacist, Su Xiaoxiao naturally couldn't start preparing the medicinal liquid when she was on the stage. The other party wouldn't give her such a chance. What was even more shocking was yet to come. Look at Ling Tianhan, his right hand is healed. Oh my god. Zhang Haoping and the others are in trouble. Ling Tianhan used to be a genius on par with the fifth prince, Yuan Mo. The person who said this was a senior student who knew of Ling Tianhan's past glory. The other freshmen also cried out. Chapter 631. Everyone's eyes widened. No one would have thought that Luo Qingtong's team, who were completely like trash in their eyes, would be so powerful. Looking at the strength displayed by the other party, they were not weaker than the top 10 of the year-end assessment. It was as if two teams with the strength of the top 10 of the year-end assessment had met on a narrow path. But what shocked them the most was Luo Qingtong's strength. Middle-level Martial King Realm. Looking at the strong and threatening aura lingering on Luo Qingtong's body. The degree of solidification and the surging aura indicated that the strength displayed by Luo Qingtong was not casually increased. She truly possessed the strength of this level of cultivation. My god! The surging aura was much more powerful than the aura emitted by Shi Qingqing. Everyone looked at Luo Qingtong, who was like a flame goddess leading her servants, and was deeply shocked by the strength displayed by the other party. One must know that Luo Qingtong had just entered Tianyu Branch Academy. They thought that her first-place qualification had been questioned and she had been assigned to the trash class. But now, looking at her strength and thinking about her first-place qualification being questioned, Shi Qingqing and the others' reasons for doubting her were laughable. The aura would not lie. Shi Qingqing and the others had indeed slandered Luo Qingtong and deliberately assigned her to the trash class. Everyone looked at the strength displayed by Luo Qingtong in shock. One by one, they focused their eyes on Shi Qingqing, Zhang Haoping, and the others in the arena. At that time, they had solemnly vowed that there was a problem with Luo Qingtong's strength and her first-place qualification was undeserved, so she was assigned to the trash class. Now, looking at the other party's aura, which completely overpowered Shi Qingqing and the others, the latter's words before seemed to be teasing them. With Luo Qingtong's strength and speed of improvement, would there be a problem with her first-place qualification? This was simply a big joke. If that was the case, then Shi Qingqing and the others were the ones who had framed her. Then, could it be that Shi Qingqing and the others were also the ones who had tampered with them when they came for the year-end examination? Everyone thought back to the time when the news came out. Everyone in the academy was cursing Luo Qingtong and the others for overestimating their capabilities. Not only did they slander Shi Qingqing and the others, they even wanted to cause trouble in the end of the year assessment. Looking at it now, who was the one slandering who? Who was the one who deliberately let Luo Qingtong and the others participate in the year-end assessment? Everyone looked at the stage and saw the shocked and regretful expressions on Shi Qingqing's and the others' faces. They felt that they had probably discovered the truth. Shi Qingqing and the others didn't know the strength of Luo Qingtong and the others. They deliberately set up Luo Qingtong and the others to participate in the year-end assessment. Originally, he thought that Luo Qingtong and the others were sheep that were easy to bully, but in the end, he found that they were all wolves with sharp teeth. Shi Qingqing and Zhang Haoping's faces were indeed filled with shock. The increase in strength of Luo Qingtong, Little Overlord Yuan and the others was completely beyond their expectations. Especially Luo Qingtong's strength, mid-level Martial King Realm. Seeing that the other party's strength had completely suppressed the strength that she had just been proud of, Shi Qingqing's pride and arrogance that had just risen not long ago had all turned into embarrassment and embarrassment. Especially when Luo Qingtong and the others' strength was released. Her previous rumor that Luo Qingtong and the others overestimated their capabilities and wanted to participate in the year-end assessment had completely become a joke. With the strength of the other party and the others, they were naturally qualified to participate in the year-end assessment. Chapter 632. Shi Qingqing and the others previously said that Luo Qingtong and the others slandered them for wanting to harm them in the Kaiyuan mystery territory. Now it seems that there really is such a thing. That's right. Luo Qingtong and the others suddenly became so strong. They must have had a fortuitous encounter in the Kaiyuan mystery territory. Maybe Shi Qingqing and the others wanted to rob them and kill them. That's right. Do you remember? After Shi Qingqing and the others came out for a while, before Luo Qingtong and the others came out, the light doors suddenly collapsed. Isn't this too much of a coincidence? The crowd whispered to each other. Previously, they didn't know the strength of Luo Qingtong and the others, so they naturally felt that Shi Qingqing and the others were right. But now, seeing the strength of Luo Qingtong and the others, they suddenly doubted what Shi Qingqing and the others said before. No matter how they looked at it, Shi Qingqing and the others had a motive to attack Luo Qingtong and the others. Moreover, the time when the light door collapsed was too coincidental. Why did it collapse before Luo Qingtong and the others came out? Shi Qingqing and the others were the last to come out. Who knew what they did to Luo Qingtong and the others in the Kaiyuan mystery territory? As the group of people spoke, they all looked at Shi Qingqing and the others who were on the battle ring. If this was really the case, Shi Qingqing and the others were really vicious. Not only did they want to kill Luo Qingtong and the others, but they also deliberately slandered them. Finally, they schemed against Luo Qingtong and the others to participate in the year-end assessment to deal with them. They wanted to kill Luo Qingtong and the others in the year-end assessment. The crowd was indescribably frightened. They looked at Shi Qingqing and the others as if they were looking at snakes and scorpions. Such people really didn't deserve to be the symbol of their Tianyu branch. They were vicious and unscrupulous. Heavens! This was simply terrifying. Shi Qingqing and the others were battered and exhausted by the gazes of the people around them. Especially Shi Qingqing, who just enjoyed the attention of the crowd and the envious gazes. At this moment, everyone was looking at her with contempt and disdain, causing her to grit her teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. Junior sister Luo, I didn't expect you to not die in the Kaiyuan mystic realm. Instead, you obtained such a fortuitous encounter and raised your strength to such a level. Shi Qingqing gritted her teeth. Looking at the aura of Luo Qingtong and the others, her heart was filled with jealousy. However, even if that's the case, it can't hide the fact that you once attacked us in the Yuan opening secret realm and wanted to kill us. Shi Qingqing raised her head with a preemptive look on her face. She wanted to confuse the crowd and make them think that it was indeed Luo Qingtong who attacked them first, and that was why they attacked the other party. But in reality, they were the ones who wanted to kill little Overlord Yuan and the others first. That was why Luo Qingtong wanted to kill them. Since both of us have a grudge against each other, let's see who's the real deal in the year-end assessment. Luo Qingtong, this time either you die or we die. Let's make a life and death bet, do you dare to accept? Shi Qingqing originally wanted to force Luo Qingtong and the others out and humiliate them. Then, she would pretend to be merciful and give Luo Qingtong and the others a chance to settle their grudge. Then, she would attack them in the arena and kill them. But now that Luo Qingtong and the others had become so strong, this plan was simply useless. And with the strength of Luo Qingtong and the others, the academy would definitely protect them and nurture them. Chapter 633. Except for Ling Tianhan, the rest of Luo Qingtong's group were all freshmen. Now they all had such strength. Especially Luo Qingtong, who had reached the intermediate martial king realm. If she was allowed to advance further in the future, Even if she went to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, she would not be able to survive. Thinking of this, Shi Qingqing did not care about anything else. She directly proposed a life-and-death duel with Luo Qingtong's group. She wanted to strangle Luo Qingtong's group here. She would not give them any chance to threaten her. Thinking of this, the viciousness in Shi Qingqing's eyes became more and more obvious. Her expression was very cold and severe. Nonsense. The dean of Tianyu branch and the others in the stands were stunned when they saw Luo Qingtong's group. Were they still the students of the trash class they thought they were? Especially Luo Qingtong, whose strength was terrifying. She was indeed a freshman with the strength of the intermediate martial king realm. With more training in the future, who knew how strong she would become? Under such circumstances, how could they allow Shi Qingqing to propose a life-and-death duel? Immediately, the dean of Tianyu branch slammed the table and stood up. The students of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin also frowned slightly. In their opinion, Luo Qingtong's group and Shi Qingqing's group were all good seedlings. It was okay to fight to determine the winner, but it was too much to kill each other. At this moment, a voice suddenly rang out. I think it's okay. The competition of the academy is always a little less bloody. When these students leave the academy in the future, they will have to experience life-and-death battles outside. It's not too much to propose a life-and-death duel. The one who spoke was old Duke Ling. He looked at Luo Qingtong's group below the arena, especially his grandson's pair of intact hands. He was very excited. Seeing that Shi Qingqing was going to force Luo Qingtong to make a life-and-death duel, he immediately supported her without hesitation. Of course, he was not supporting Shi Qingqing, but Luo Qingtong. Competing with evil Dr. Ghost Eye in strength. Old Duke Ling, who had seen Luo Qingtong kill a new martial emperor from the royal family of Tianyu, didn't think that Luo Qingtong would lose. Even if the other party did not use his full strength, just half of his strength would be enough to kill Shi Qingqing, okay? The latter actually wanted to use this opportunity to eliminate the source of trouble. Who would be the one to be eliminated in the end? As for his two grandsons and granddaughters, they were by Luo Qingtong's side. How could the latter make them suffer? Moreover, Shi Qingqing and the others almost killed the two most outstanding grandsons of the Ling family in the Kai Yuan mystic realm. Old Duke Ling couldn't wait to get rid of them. The moment he said that, everyone from Tianyu branch was stunned. Old Duke Ling. Everyone was shocked. They didn't know why he would do this. After all, the two juniors of the Ling family were also there. He was too angry that Shi Qingqing and the others had tried to kill Ling Tianhan and Ling Yu. Or did he really believe that Luo Qingtong and the others would win? Just as everyone was shocked and the dean of Tianyu branch pulled a long face and was about to refuse, another voice came from old Duke Ling's side. Chapter 634. As soon as this voice was heard, everyone present was instantly stunned. Not for anything else, but because the person who spoke was none other than old Master Lanue, who was sitting beside Duke Ling. He actually agreed to the life-and-death duel between Shi Qingqing and Luo Qingtong. The headmaster of Tianyu branch swallowed the words he was about to say. He looked at Master Lanue, who seemed to be resting with his eyes closed, with an ugly expression. He didn't know what was going on. Even Master Lanue agreed to the life-and-death duel. What else could he say? The headmaster of Tianyu branch didn't care about Duke Ling. After all, although Duke Ling was related to the evil Dr. Ghost Eyes, he was just supported by Duke Ling. Their relationship might not be deep. But the Lanue family was different. Now that Master Lanue had spoken, the matter was settled instantly. Shi Qingqing didn't expect Master Lanue to speak. She had thought that the school would stop it. She also wanted to ask her teacher, an expert of the Saint realm from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, to help her suppress the people of Tianyu branch. But she didn't expect Master Lanue to speak, and the matter was settled directly. Could it be that Master Lanue also saw her potential, just like her teacher, so he spoke out to help her? Thinking of this, Shi Qingqing's heart became even more confident. Luo Qingtong, so what if you are a medium martial king? You are still inferior to me. The trump card in my hand is beyond your imagination. Thinking of the 100 ghost streamers she got in the Kaiyuan Mystery Land, Shi Qingqing felt very proud and complacent. Luo Qingtong, do you dare to accept this? A life and death duel. You die, or I die. She looked at the girl standing under the arena with a mocking expression. If you don't dare to accept, you can choose to leave now. But you have to destroy your meridians, kneel 3 times and kowtow 9 times, and kneel all the way back to Dongli State. While kneeling, you have to shout that you are a bitch and that I have let down my senior brothers and senior sisters of Tianyu branch. From now on, you can't leave Dongli State, and you can't appear in front of us. Otherwise, you'll have to kneel down and kowtow, repenting for your previous attempt to kill us. The same goes for all of you. She looked coldly at little Overlord Yuan and the others behind Luo Qingtong. At this time, Shi Qingqing had completely shed her previous disguise of elegance, gentleness, and gracefulness, revealing her true colors. With the Lanue clan's old master and the Saint Realm expert from the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin thinking highly of her, what did she have to be afraid of? Since someone had already seen through her intentions for the year-end assessment, then she would thoroughly reveal them. She wanted to use all means to force Luo Qingtong to agree to this life and death duel. Then, he would kill them one by one here. As for Luo Qingtong and the others, if they didn't dare to agree, that was fine too. He immediately left with his tail between his legs. From now on, his life would be ruined. F***ck. Hearing Shi Qingqing's words, little Overlord Yuan and the others instantly flew into a rage. Especially the words she said about Luo Qingtong. She actually wanted their boss to kneel down and kowtow to her, and even call her a bitch. Shi Qingqing was really looking for trouble. She was really tired of living. Boss, accept her. F***ck. I can't hold it in any longer. Torture her to death. A cold light flashed in Luo Qingtong's eyes. She looked at the proud and complacent Shi Qingqing in the arena, and her lips slowly curved into a bloodthirsty and cold smile, looking extremely evil. Okay. I accept. Life and death duel. Chapter 635. Good. Let's start. Are you all okay with it? Shi Qingqing looked at Zhang Haoping and the others coldly. She believed that they would make a wise choice. They had a part to play in the assassination of Luo Qingtong and the others. If they didn't want to be avenged by Luo Qingtong and the others in the future, they should know that this was their only chance. Zhang Haoping and the others naturally knew this, so when Shi Qingqing provoked Luo Qingtong and the others to accept the life and death duel, they didn't say anything. Luo Qingtong and the others were strong, but they were not weak either. Moreover, how long had they been cultivating in the school? How long had Luo Qingtong and the others been cultivating? Even if they had some opportunities in the Kaiyuan secret realm and increased their strength, they might not be able to fully utilize their strength. With that thought in mind, everyone immediately nodded their heads. No problem, life and death duel it is. They had planned to kill Luo Qingtong and the others, but they didn't expect that Luo Qingtong and the others' strength had increased. But even so, the result would not change at all. Luo Qingtong and the others must die. Whoosh! They signed the life and death contract under the witness of everyone present. The people from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin felt that it was a pity, but after all, this was a matter of Tianyu branch. Moreover, the students from both sides were willing to fight to the death, so they naturally didn't say anything. They just focused on this fierce battle of life and death. Of course, their eyes were more focused on Luo Qingtong and Shi Qingqing. These two people were the best seedlings that they had seen in so many branches. Especially Luo Qingtong, who was at the medium martial king realm, her talent and strength were extremely amazing. It was said that she had entered Tianyu branch for less than half a year, but she already had such strength. Although the Kaiyuan secret realm contributed to this, if she didn't have outstanding talent, even if she was given an opportunity, she might not be able to take it. Luo Qingtong's power that had not dissipated was the proof. Her foundation was extremely solid. It meant that even if there was an opportunity, this promotion was real. There was not the slightest bit of loosening. On the other hand, Shi Qingqing's situation was slightly worse. The latter's strength was clearly inferior to Luo Qingtong. His aura was also much weaker. This meant that Shi Qingqing's strength was still somewhat unstable at the beginning. However, compared to most people, it was already very good. At least it was still solid. In comparison, Zhang Haoping, who was beside her, was much worse. That loose aura was only the title of a martial emperor. Otherwise, against those students at the peak of the martial lord realm, he might not be able to get second place. Swish! The group of people signed the life and death agreement, and suddenly flew up to the arena. The top 10 of the year-end examination would be given 10 dueling rings. Whichever one of them wanted to challenge, they would be given the dueling ring. The last person left on the stage was the winner of the ranking. Shi Qingqing and the others had already decided on the top 10 of the year-end assessment. At this moment, they all went up to their respective arenas. Among the 10 arenas, only the last 2 students from the elite class who had suddenly appeared were not Shi Qingqing's people. They were not participating in this life and death battle. The other 8 people all went up the ring. Shi Qingqing was first, Zhang Haoping was second, and so on. Chapter 636. The Ling family should have other disciples in the Tianyu Academy, right? Can you ask someone stronger to come over? She said to Ling Tianhan. She said that she would not let Shi Qingqing and the others get a chance to be in the top 10. Those who had harmed her, none of them should even think about running away. No problem. Ling Tianhan agreed immediately. Luo Qingtong must have said that to promote a disciple of the Ling family. He would not miss such a good opportunity. Boss, you're too biased towards the Ling family. Little brat Yuan muttered, why do you always think of them whenever something good happens? You should think of the Yuan family too. Before Luo Qingtong could say anything, Ling Yu pouted and said, you have to think of the Yuan family first. You have to convince them to give you a disciple who is as strong and talented as the Ling family to sign the life and death agreement. If you can do it, the Ling family will give you the spot. Little brat Yuan shut up immediately after hearing Ling Yu's words. He did not have the ability to do so unless he exposed Luo Qingtong's identity. Therefore, the Ling family would definitely take advantage of this. Sigh, those short-sighted old men will regret it in the future. Little brat Yuan was depressed. When Luo Qingtong wanted to deal with the Tianyu royal family, he had told the Yuan family to stand on the Ling family's side. In the end, no one believed him except for his father. This time, the Ling family got the meat, but they did not even get the soup. They were drunk. Fortunately, with his relationship with his boss, the Yuan family was doing well in the imperial capital. At least they were not punished. Ling Tianhan quickly called the disciple of the Ling family over. The people in the top 100 of the genius list weren't weak either. They looked at Luo Qingtong with respect. Before he came, old Duke Ling had already reminded him repeatedly that he must listen to Luo Qingtong. Even if she asked him to die, he must not have any objections. Moreover, before they came, their family had already been directly promoted to a direct descendant. Therefore, that Ling family disciple's gaze towards Luo Qingtong was exceptionally respectful. Even if he had to sign a life and death agreement, he would not hesitate. Yes. Luo Qingtong looked at him and nodded. She raised her hand and handed him a spiritual qi bomb and a weapon she obtained from the first place contest. Fight first. If you can't beat him, throw this out. Luo Qingtong said, letting Su Xiaoxiao and Sima Zhu give him some good stuff. The former would naturally give him all kinds of medicinal liquids, while the latter would give him poison. Holding these items, the Ling family disciple's face was filled with indescribable shock. Let's not talk about what Luo Qingtong gave him. Let's talk about what Su Xiaoxiao and Sima Zhu gave him. That Ling family disciple had never seen such strange and complicated medicinal liquids before. Moreover, according to Su Xiaoxiao, these medicinal liquids could be mixed together to form other medicinal liquids. And the poison that Sima Zhu gave him. He had never seen such a strong poison before. Furthermore, the poison that Sima Zhu gave him was reduced according to his strength. Otherwise, he might end up poisoning himself the moment he made a move. Oh my God! That Ling family disciple looked at the pile of items in his left hand and right hand. Suddenly, he was filled with sympathy for Shi Qingqing and the rest who were waiting for the life and death gambling match to start. They thought that Luo Qingtong and the rest were just slightly more powerful sheep. In reality, these people were terrifying wolves. Chapter 637. Luo Qingtong, how long are you going to dawdle down there? Shi Qingqing had a proud look on her face as she stood in the first arena. She was dressed in a white robe that was as white as snow, and there were dark clouds above her head. As she looked at Luo Qingtong, the light robe on her body slowly fluttered in the air. What's the hurry? Looking up at Shi Qingqing on the arena, Luo Qingtong had a faint smile on her face. If you're in a hurry to reincarnate, don't worry, Zhang Haoping and the others will be waiting for you. How could she let Shi Qingqing die so easily? Whoosh! Luo Qingtong jumped onto the arena. After her, little tyrant Yuan, Sima Zhu, Su Xiaoxiao, Ling Tianhan, Ling Yu, Chu Wenhao, and the Ling family disciple also jumped onto the arena. Senior brother Zhan, please give me your guidance. Ling Tianhan raised his sword with one hand and looked coldly at Zhan Hao on the opposite side of the arena. That was what Zhan Hao told him when he returned to the top 10 of the genius list with his left hand. Whoever was stronger would be the senior brother. He was once a genius who could compete with Yuan Mo, but after being crippled, he was nothing. Now, it was time for Zhang Haoping to pay the price. And when Ling Tianhan raised his sword, little tyrant Yuan, Sima Zhu, Su Xiaoxiao, and the others also faced their respective opponents. Haha! I didn't expect Yuan Hu to have the chance to fight for the top 10 in the year-end assessment. Looking at the lackey who listened to Shi Qingqing and Zhang Haoping, little tyrant Yuan laughed loudly. Zhou Yuan! You almost pushed me into the dead soul's tide before. Now I'll let you know how to write the word death. Sima Zhu and Su Xiaoxiao didn't speak. One raised his hand, and the other clenched the medicinal liquid in her hand. I can do it. Su Xiaoxiao encouraged herself in her heart. She wanted to become Luo Qingtong's personal combat alchemist. She couldn't be abandoned by Luo Qingtong and the others. She wanted to kill those people and enter the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin with Luo Qingtong and the others. To prove that even if he was a piece of trash, he could still fly faster and higher. Ling Yu, Chu Wenhao, and that Ling family disciple also faced off against their respective enemies. Whoosh! On the first arena, Shi Qingqing sneered as she looked at Luo Qingtong's figure. She raised her hand and pulled out a soft sword from her belt. She pointed the sword at Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong, you really boast shamelessly. She sneered as she looked at Luo Qingtong's mid-level martial king strength. Do you think you're stronger than me just because you're stronger than me? He's just a mid-level martial king. I don't care about it at all. You probably don't know that I've awakened a special soul seal. In my opinion, your mid-level martial king strength is just a so-so. As she spoke, the aura around her body surged. In the next second, streams of black fog shrouded Shi figure. Her aura suddenly rose from the low-level martial king realm to the mid-level martial king realm. Whoosh! When Shi aura rose, the people in the spectator stands immediately let out cries of surprise. Look! Shi strength has risen. Oh my god, she's also a mid-level martial king realm expert. Not only that, do you see it? The black fog that lingered around her. Soul seal. It's the aura of the soul seal. She has a special soul seal. Chapter 638. Exclamations rang out one after another. The dean of the Tianyu branch and the students of the Empire of Qin were also stunned. They didn't expect Shi to have awakened a special soul seal and become a soul king. If that was the case, then Luo Qintong, a mid-level martial king, was in danger. After all, even if they were in the same realm, a soul master had an advantage over a martial artist. The ability of their soul seals was their greatest reliance. It was the difference between a martial artist and a martial artist. I'm afraid Luo Qintong is going to lose. The instructors of the Tianyu branch shook their heads at this scene. Even the students of the Empire of Qin frowned slightly. Only the sage powerhouse who had accepted Shi as a disciple remained calm on the surface. However, deep down, he was extremely pleased with himself. Shi was a good seedling that he had unearthed. The more talented she was, the more shocked everyone was, and the more proud he would be. On the other hand, Elder Lanue and Duke Ling were very calm. They weren't worried that something would happen to Luo Qintong. Lose? How was that possible? If evil Dr. Gui Tong lost so easily, then the death of that martial emperor from Tianyu's royal family would be too unjust. No matter how strong Shi was, she was only a soul king. How could she be compared to a martial emperor? The two of them were very calm. On the stage, Luo Qintong raised her eyebrows when she saw the black fog surrounding Shi. The power of dead souls. Seeing that Shi had the same power and aura as the dead souls in the Kaiyuan mystic realm, Luo Qintong finally knew how Shi and the others could survive the wave of dead souls even after being injured by her. Interesting. Luo Qintong's eyes flashed with blood-red light. Through her eye technique, she could clearly see that the black fog around Shi didn't belong to her. It came from something on Shi body. Luo Qintong narrowed her eyes and looked at Shi. Her lips curled up. Something that contained the power of dead souls. Good. That's great. The item that Snowball used to transform was found. At this moment, Little Pig's voice rang in her ears. That Shi definitely has a treasure that contains a large amount of soul power. Master, quickly torture her to death and snatch the item. After that little furball transforms, it will be even more powerful. It was obvious that Little Pig had also sensed the aura of the dead souls. Yes. Luo Qintong nodded. At this moment, Shi had already brandished her sword and charged towards Luo Qintong. Luo Qintong, die. Relying on the death soul qi in the 100 ghost streamer, Shi raised her strength to the level of a middle-level martial king. She confidently charged toward Luo Qintong. 10,000 ghosts devouring heart. As she stabbed her sword, countless Yin soul qi suddenly rushed out from her attack. They opened their mouths and sharp teeth and bit towards Luo Qintong. Shi had absorbed a large amount of the death soul qi from the 100 ghost streamer. During the tide of the months of demons in the Kaiyuan secret realm, countless dead souls covered the sky and earth. With the help of the 100-ghost streamer, Shi Qingqing, Zhang Haoping, and the others were able to break out of the encirclement and return to the light door alive after being injured by Luo Qingtong. After the death soul qi was absorbed, it was stored in the 100-ghost streamer. After Shi Qingqing activated the special soul seal of the Soul Devourer constitution, she relied on absorbing the power of these dead souls to increase her strength. Chapter 639. Luo Qingtong, go to hell. Shi Qingqing's face was cold. Luo Qingtong was too arrogant. She didn't show her real strength on purpose, so she thought that her real strength was at the inferior Martial King realm. In fact, with the power of the 100 Ghosts banner, she could have reached the intermediate Martial King realm. That idiot really thought that she was inferior to her. She even agreed to a life and death duel and wanted to kill her. She was just waiting to die here. When she died, she could step on her and enter the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin with glory. With the help and training of her teacher, the fifth prince would definitely see her in a new light. She would also become the only woman who was worthy of him. Thinking of this, Shi Qingqing's expression became more ruthless, and the movement of her sword became more ferocious. Swoosh! The sword light, accompanied by the wails of thousands of ghosts, attacked Luo Qingtong. Just when everyone thought that Luo Qingtong's heart would be pierced by the sword, clang! Luo Qingtong unsheathed her wind and thunder sword. In an instant, the wind blew and thunder roared. Thousands of lightning bolts, like silver snakes, fell from the sky. Rumble! Bolts of lightning flew down from the sky. The sound of thunder was like the wrath of the gods, straight to the ninth heaven. Wind and thunder sword cut. The martial arts techniques of the Martial Emperor realm found from the Martial Emperor realm experts of the Tianyu imperial family came in handy at this moment. With this Martial Emperor realm weapon and the martial arts techniques of the Martial Emperor realm, Luo Qingtong's casual attack was comparable to that of an advanced Martial King realm expert. In an instant, the howling Yin souls that were charging towards him began to shriek. The wails and howls really turned into wails and howls, and the miserable howls turned into real misery. Ah! Streaks of Yin soul qi were instantly obliterated by the power of thunder and lightning carried by the sword of wind and thunder. Shi Qingqing's sword strike, which carried the killing move of 10,000 howling ghosts, instantly turned into an ordinary sword strike. The Yin soul qi on the sword suddenly decreased. In the next second, the light became dim, and it became an attack that any middle-level Martial King realm expert could launch. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent as she watched the sword coming towards her. Clang! Holding the sword in her right hand, she suddenly stretched out 2 fingers of her other hand and caught the sword in front of her. Looking at Shi Qingqing's shocked gaze, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up and she smiled at her. Demonic and domineering, peerless and alluring. The next second, bang! Luo Qingtong suddenly lifted her foot and kicked towards Shi Qingqing. Ah! Shi Qingqing screamed miserably as she was sent flying dozens of meters away by that kick. It slid across the ground of the arena and finally crashed heavily into a huge pillar at the edge of the arena. Boom! The pillar, which was thick enough for dozens of people to encircle it, was smashed into pieces in an instant. Shi Qingqing's body didn't stop. She continued to fly backward and hit the protective shield of the arena in midair. Then, she was heavily rebounded and smashed onto the ground. Puff! Shi Qingqing raised her head and spat out a mouthful of blood. She lay on the ground and kept howling in pain. Below his chest, there was an obvious depression. Chapter 640. Clang! Luo Qingtong twisted the 2 fingers on her left hand. In an instant, the soft sword was shattered into pieces by the powerful force from her fingertips. Clang clang clang. The broken pieces of the sword fell onto the floor of the arena, making crisp sounds. Luo Qingtong carelessly threw away the broken sword between her fingertips. She raised her eyes to look at Shi Qingqing, who was half sprawled on the ground and struggling to get up. Shi Qingqing, is this your so-called true strength? A Soul King expert with a special soul imprint. Luo Qingtong's lips held a faint smile. Her eyes, which seemed to be filled with a faint blood mist, looked at Shi Qingqing. Unfortunately, it's only so-so. As soon as these words came out, Shi Qingqing spat out another mouthful of blood. It wasn't for anything else. She had just said these words to Luo Qingtong before she made her move. Now, it was immediately thrown back at her. What could be more face-slapping than this? She had been so arrogant when facing Luo Qingtong just now, but now, her face had been slapped so miserably. Shi Qingqing thought of how proud she was before she made her move. She thought that after her scheme had succeeded, Luo Qingtong would definitely die. She only felt the blood in her body rushing to her brain. Embarrassment, regret, embarrassment, humiliation. She had thought that Luo Qingtong was an idiot. Now, it seemed that who was the real idiot? Thinking of this, Shi Qingqing's heart was humiliated to the extreme. With a huff, she raised her head and spat out another mouthful of blood. Her face was deathly pale as she looked at the evil, awe-inspiring, and enchanting girl in front of her. How could this be? How could things turn out like this? It shouldn't be like this. The one who should be standing there and enjoying the attention of everyone should be her. She should be the strongest and number one in the year-end assessment. She should be the one who had trampled Luo Qingtong under her feet. She shouldn't be like this now, being sent flying by Luo Qingtong's kick and lying on the ground like a dead dog. Shi Qingqing thought as she clenched her fists tightly. His 5 fingers were like the sharpest blades as they ruthlessly pierced into his palm, causing blood to flow out. Meanwhile, the audience was already in an uproar. Bang bang bang. Everyone was shocked when they saw Luo Qingtong break Shi Qingqing's killing move with one move, and at the same time, send her flying with a kick. She smashed into the ground like a dead dog. Apart from old Duke Ling and old Master Lanue, who had long had a premonition, everyone else widened their eyes in shock as they looked at the scene in Arena No. 1. Oh my God! On the spectator stand, the chairs of the Tianyu Branch Academy collapsed. The group of people crawled up from the ground, battered and exhausted. They looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. The head of the Tianyu Branch School roared. You bastards! You guys actually don't know such a powerful student. She even allowed others to assign her to the trash class. Do you know what her talent represents? If she was in the elite class, she might be even stronger. A bunch of bastards. The head of the Tianyu Branch School bulged his eyes. He couldn't wait to rush up and choke the hearts of the instructors of the Tianyu Branch Academy. Especially the instructors of the elite class. They should just die. They actually didn't know such a student and let Luo Qingtong be assigned to the trash class. Such a waste of such a good talent. If she had been nurtured in the elite class earlier, coupled with the experience in the Kaiyuan's secret realm, Luo Qingtong's strength might be even stronger than the current intermediate Martial King realm. Chapter 641. Bang! At the end of his tirade, the dean of the Tianyu Branch Academy couldn't take it anymore. His aura exploded and sent a group of instructors from the Tianyu Branch Academy flying. Who asked them to be blind? Who asked them to look down on others? He had almost ruined such a good seedling. Compared to Luo Qingtong, Shi Qingqing was nothing. A bunch of bastards. They only knew how to look down on others. If Luo Qingtong had any complaints about the academy, he would skin them alive. Just as the dean of the Tianyu Branch Academy was enraged, the saint from the Empire of Qin Saint Academy had an ugly expression on his face. Shi Qingqing had been so arrogant before, but she had been sent flying with one move. He had been so proud of this new disciple of his, but now he was embarrassed. A soul king couldn't even defeat a martial king. It was truly humiliating to the extreme. This Shurchingching was simply too trashy. He was simply a pile of mud that couldn't support a wall. Even if she had obtained such a good opportunity in the secret realm of Kaiyuan, it was useless. Just as the sage realm expert was feeling indescribably embarrassed, boom. At the place where Shurchingching was, black fog suddenly rose up. Luo Qingtong, you deserve to die. Shurchingching's eyes were bloodshot. She looked at Luo Qingtong coldly and resentfully. With a swoosh, she flew up from the ground. She didn't know when the wound on her body caused by Luo Qingtong's kick had healed. Whoosh! Shurchingching waved her hand, and a black banner appeared beside her. As the black banner appeared, countless black auras emerged from it. They surrounded her and entered her body. Boom, boom, boom. As the black auras entered Shurchingching's body, her aura surged. Her aura rose rapidly and reached the level of the advanced martial emperor realm in just a split second. The eyes of the Saint Stage powerhouse on the spectator stand widened when he saw the black banner. He could vaguely sense the aura of a Saint Realm expert from the black banner. This black banner was actually a Saint Realm treasure. Shurchingching actually had such a good item on her. No wonder her strength increased so quickly. He had even activated such a special soul seal. A greedy look appeared in the eyes of the sage powerhouse when he saw the black banner. At the same time, Luo Qingtong also sensed that the treasure she had seen through her pupil technique that had enhanced Shurchingching's aura was this black banner. A Saint Realm treasure. Ha! Little Pig's voice rang in her mind. I didn't expect Shurchingching's luck to be so good. He actually picked up such a Yin soul magic tool in the secret realm of Kaiyuan. This is great. The soul power aura inside definitely wouldn't be weak. It was perfect for that little furball to use as a foundation for its transformation. Master, your luck is here. This saint weapon is damaged, and it's also a Yin soul magic tool. It's perfect for that little furball. Little Pig jabbered in Luo Qingtong's mind. Hurry up and keep it. I know. Luo Qingtong's voice was indifferent. She had locked onto the 100 Ghosts banner the moment it appeared. The latter's aura was indeed very powerful. Through Shurchingching, she could enhance her strength. She could release some of her power. Chapter 642. Luo Qingtong, die. Shurchingching's eyes turned red. She sacrificed her own life to drive the 100 Ghost banner to greater power. When Shurchingching got the 100 Ghost banner, she knew that it was very powerful and evil at the same time. She had been slowly comprehending and absorbing the power in it, and she didn't dare to use the blood sacrifice. Now, in order to kill Luo Qingtong, she didn't care anymore. In this life and death battle, either she or Luo Qingtong would die. Luo Qingtong was much stronger than her. She could only expose this 100 Ghost banner. Fortunately, she had already recognized a Sage Realm expert as her teacher. As long as she killed Luo Qingtong and gave the 100 Ghost banner to her teacher for protection, she could still live a comfortable life in the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. Luo Qingtong, wait for your death. In an instant, Shurchingching's figure flew up. At the same time, she waved the black banner in her hand. King of Ghosts, come out. Following her fierce shout. Suddenly, waves of ferocious ghosts cried and howled from the black banner. In the next second, waves of ferocious ghosts rushed out from it. Just like the sword that Shurchingching used before. But this time, the difference was that after those ferocious ghosts rushed out, they didn't rush towards Luo Qingtong. Instead, they surrounded Shurchingching and kept howling. In the next second, those ferocious ghosts rushed out from the 100-ghost banner and merged together. They had fused together. Countless ferocious ghosts entangled with each other and combined to form an incomparably huge king of ghosts. Countless ferocious ghosts on its body hauled sharply. In the next second, the king of ghosts, like a small mountain, rushed towards Luo Qingtong. The strength of the Emperor Realm. This huge king formed by countless ferocious ghosts had vaguely reached the martial Emperor Realm. The king of ghosts rushed towards Luo Qingtong while howling sharply. Everyone below the stage let out a series of exclamations. Martial Emperor Realm. Oh no! This time, Luo Qingtong was dead for sure. On the viewing platform, the Tianyu Academy's headmaster was hopping mad at this scene. Stop! Stop! The life and death gambling match this time is cancelled. Quick! Remove the protection on the stage and pull them apart. How could the dean of the Tianyu branch let Luo Qingtong die? He immediately rushed out while stamping his feet. The instructors of the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin also prepared to join the fight. However, at this moment, the Saint Realm expert from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin made his move. Life and death gambling match. Life and death are up to fate. His aura suppressed everyone present. Shi Qingqing and Luo Qingtong have already signed the life and death agreement. Don't interfere. His attitude was unyielding. Because just a moment ago, he received a voice transmission from Shi Qingqing, saying that she would give the black banner to him later. As long as he stopped the Tianyu Branch Academy head and the others, he would be able to stop them. Saint Mang. Everyone from the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin was stunned. They didn't expect that the Saint Realm expert would participate in this matter and was obviously on Shi Qingqing's side. The dean of the Tianyu Branch Academy was so anxious that he almost fainted. Luo Qingtong's talent and strength were clearly stronger than Shi Qingqing's. If she entered the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin, she would be another heaven-grade freshman. Was she going to die here? Just as the dean of the Tianyu Branch Academy was extremely anxious, the king of ghosts rushed in front of Luo Qingtong and attacked her with a shrill cry. At the same time, Shi Qingqing sneered and followed behind the king of ghosts. She took out another weapon and stabbed it at Luo Qingtong. Chapter 643. Luo Qingtong's eyes lit up when she saw the sword light and the king of 10,000 ghosts charging at her. The next second, the tempest sword in her hand moved. Heaven-conquering art, seize heaven's fortune. Swoosh! Luo Qingtong swung the sword move that Yi Qianxian had taught her. She didn't know the level and power of the sword move. Although she didn't use the life and death sword, the power of this move was reduced. But it was enough to deal with the king of 10,000 ghosts that had only vaguely reached the martial emperor realm and Shi Qingqing, who had forcibly advanced to the martial king realm. Boom! Following Luo Qingtong's sword move, in an instant, there was only this extremely bright light under the sky. The screams of the ghosts and the sound of the sword light piercing through the air echoed. Under the illumination of the sword light, the rolling black aura rolled into black and white waves. The next second, screech! A sharp shriek pierced through the sky. Under the shocked gazes of countless people, the tempest sword in Luo Qingtong's hand was like a sword of extinction wielded by the way of heaven. It was like the dawn of the sky as it ruthlessly slashed at the king of 10,000 ghosts in front of her. Amidst the screams of the king of 10,000 ghosts, it was suddenly split in half. The ghosts that formed the king of 10,000 ghosts were all smashed into ashes. The sword light didn't dissipate. After splitting the king of 10,000 ghosts in half, it swept across again and heavily hit Shi Qingqing, who was hiding behind the king of 10,000 ghosts and waiting to kill Luo Qingtong. No! Seeing the sword light flying over, the light in Shi Qingqing's eyes was shocked to the extreme. She hurriedly waved the 100 Ghost banner in her hand to block it. However, just as the 100 Ghost banner was about to hit the sword light, the bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes turned cold. Under the cover of the sword light, he rushed in front of Shi Qingqing and summoned the life and death sword. Holding it in his hand, he fiercely slashed at the 100 Ghost streamer. From the very beginning, Luo Qingtong's goal was this 100 Ghosts banner. She could tell that Shi Qingqing's ability was completely bestowed by this 100 Ghosts banner. The latter was the one who was truly going against her. A saint artifact had a spirit. Although this 100 Ghosts banner was damaged, it was still able to bestow all kinds of powers to Shi Qing and even accept Shi Qingqing's sacrifice. It was clear that its intelligence had not been lost. Luo Qingtong wanted to capture it in one fell swoop, not giving it any chance to escape. Whoosh! Death Blade activated. The Yin Soul's most frightening power, the most evil power of death in the world, was activated at this moment. Luo Qingtong waved the life and death sword in her hand, and a black sickle-like light flashed across the sky. That light mixed with the sword light she had sent out with the wind and thunder sword, and no one could see any clues. It directly slashed out and fiercely chopped at the 100 Ghost banner. Buzz! When Luo Qingtong pulled out the life and death yin-yang sword and transformed it into the death blade, the 100 Ghost gonfalon started vibrating violently. Its damaged consciousness could vaguely sense the huge and terrifying threat that the death blade brought to it. This was the power of death that was even stronger, darker, and more terrifying than it was. Buzz! It trembled violently, wanting to fly out of Shi Qingqing's hand. But it was too late. Chapter 644. The black sword light struck its body. In an instant, the 100 Ghost banner let out a mournful cry like that of a resentful spirit. The rapidly surging power around it instantly dimmed. Suppression. The death blade carried a terrifying power of death, completely suppressing the 100 Ghost banner. Ah! As Luo Qingtong's sword struck the 100 Ghost banner, Shi Qingqing's body was also hit by the terrifying sword light that flew over. Without the 100 Ghost banner's protection, her little bit of high-level martial king strength could not withstand a single blow from Luo Qingtong's heaven-conquering art. The words, Luo Qingtong, go to hell, seemed to still resound in the air. In the next second, Shi Qingqing's body had already been split into two by the sword light flying over. Not only that, a transparent soul was instantly extracted from her broken body. It screamed miserably as it was thrown into the 100 Ghost banner. How could this Yin Spirit Dharma artifact be so easy to control? Shi Qingqing's strength was insufficient. She had sacrificed her lifespan. Now that she had died, she was immediately devoured by the 100 Ghost banner. Her soul was extracted and absorbed into the 100 Ghost banner to be refined. Ah! Shi Qingqing's soul's screams echoed in the sky in an endless stream. Her body was sucked into the 100 Ghost streamer, and the countless resentful souls and malicious ghosts hidden within instantly swarmed forward, opening their mouths wide as they tried to bite her. In an instant, her body was covered by the vengeful spirits and malicious ghosts that swarmed over. 10,000 ghosts devouring the heart. This was the true 10,000 ghosts devouring the heart. Once Shi Qingqing's soul was completely devoured, she would become a new Yin spirit controlled by the 100 Ghost banner. Previously, Shi Qingqing had wanted to refine Luo Qingtong's soul. Now, she had become the one whose soul was being refined. She would be imprisoned in the 100 Ghost banner and lose her consciousness. She would never be reincarnated. Buzz! When Shi Qingqing's screams disappeared, Luo Qingtong also raised her hand to grab the 100 Ghost banner that had been completely suppressed by the death blade. Feeling the terrifying aura of life and death on her body, the 100 Ghost banner trembled violently. It wanted to struggle and fly away, but it was powerless. It could only struggle and tremble in that buzzing wail. Just as Luo Qingtong killed Shi Qingqing. Bang! 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 The other arenas also emitted bursts of violent attacks one after another. Then, a series of screams rang out. Everyone looked over and their eyes widened in shock. The ones lying on the ground were those who were lying on the ground. From Jean Hauping all the way down, everyone was lying on the ground miserably. Then, their bodies convulsed and died. The trash class team led by Luo Qingtong won a complete victory. Everyone's eyes widened. Apart from Ling Tian Han Yuan, Little Tyrant Yuan, Sima Ju, and Su Xiao were all students of the trash class. People who were determined to have no future actually won just like that. Everyone was indescribably shocked. At this moment, a cold voice suddenly rang out from the spectator stand opposite them. Return that 100 Ghosts banner to this saint. In the front stands, the sage state expert from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin had a very ugly expression. Shi Qingqing was dead, and the 100 Ghost banner fell into Luo Qingtong's hands. Seeing that the latter was about to put it away, he couldn't hold back anymore. Chapter 645. That 100 Ghost streamer was bestowed to Shi Qingqing by this saint. She is this saint's disciple in name. Luo Qingtong, even if you defeat Shi Qingqing, you have to return that 100 Ghost streamer to this saint. As he spoke, he raised his hand and was about to take the 100 Ghost streamer into his hand. Luo Qingtong had just grasped the 100 Ghost streamer in her hand and was about to put it into the 9-story exquisite pagoda for Snowball's transformation. Hearing this, a bloody light flashed in her eyes, and she took a step back in an instant, just in time to avoid the suction force. Whoosh! She put away the 100 Ghost streamer with a flip of her hand. Then, with a faint, cold smile on her lips, she looked at the Saint Realm expert whose expression changed abruptly and said leisurely, "My apologies, Saint. Even if this 100 Ghost streamer was yours, it is now my spoils of war." In a life and death gambling match, life and death are determined by the heavens. As the dead, everything is at the disposal of the winner. Since Saint gave Shi Qingqing this 100 Ghost streamer, you should have been prepared for this. Luo Qingtong's words were merciless. She didn't care whether this thing was an opportunity that Shi Qingqing had obtained in the Kaiyuan mystic realm or if it really belonged to this saint. Now that it was in her hands, it was hers. The enormous soul power in the 100 Ghost streamer was very beneficial to Snowball's transformation. Of course, Luo Qingtong wouldn't let it go. Furthermore, Luo Qingtong's expression was cynical. This Saint Realm expert didn't have any interaction with Shi Qingqing before. How could he give a Saint Realm treasure to a disciple in name? Did he take her for a fool? If he really valued Shi Qingqing so much, why would he only take her as a disciple in name? He was just looking for an excuse to snatch this 100 Ghost streamer. Others couldn't sense the faint Saint Realm aura on it, but this Saint Realm expert should be able to sense it. Was he relying on his powerful strength to shamelessly snatch it from him? As soon as Luo Qingtong spoke, the Saint Realm expert's expression changed instantly. He had shamelessly asked for the 100 Ghost streamer, but he didn't expect Luo Qingtong to refuse. She was just a little student. What qualifications and strength did she have to refuse him? He immediately flew into a rage out of humiliation. He said, "The life and death gambling match is between you and Shi Qingqing. Since this saint gave it to her, this saint will naturally take it back. Luo Qingtong, I didn't expect you have such a greedy person. This 100 Ghosts banner is not something you should have. Give it back it." As he spoke, his aura, SG. The aura of the Saint Realm was like waves and tides, pressing towards Luo Qingtong. This Sage Realm expert is too shameless. Little Pig jumped up and down in Luo Qingtong's sleeve. "You don't deserve the 100 Ghost streamer, do you? He was the one who wanted the 100 Ghost streamer and tried to snatch it. How dare he say you're greedy? Damn it, Master, let's attack together. Little Pig was about to jump out of Luo Qingtong's sleeve as he spoke. At this moment, bang! A figure suddenly appeared in front of the Saint Realm expert, blocking the qi that was gathering around him and heading towards Luo Qingtong. Saint Meng, you've gone too far. Suppressing a junior is not befitting of your status as a Saint Realm expert. Chapter 646. Old Master Lanue. Everyone was stunned when they saw the person standing in front of Saint Meng. They didn't expect Old Master Lanue to go against Saint Meng. The people from the Empire of Qin Academy and the Dean of the Tianyu Academy also came to their senses. Saint, why do you have to be so calculative with a junior? The instructor from the Empire of Qin Academy said with a frown. Luo Qingtong's talent and strength were really powerful. She had won the life and death bet, so she deserved to get the spoils. Saint Meng was a dignified saint. Why would he be calculative with a junior? Could it be that he was angry that Luo Qingtong killed Shi Qingqing, so he deliberately found an excuse to attack her? Since he was thinking this, the others were naturally thinking the same thing. They immediately tried to persuade the Saint Realm expert. However, the Saint Realm expert was determined to get the 100 Ghost streamer and ignored their persuasion. Old Master Lanue, I respect your family's heritage. This matter has nothing to do with your family. It was Luo Qingtong who provoked me. Ask her to return the 100 Ghost streamer to me, and I'll pretend this never happened. Otherwise. His eyes were fierce. Impossible. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. Not to mention that she had a use for the 100 Ghost streamer, even if she didn't, she wouldn't give in to the other party's oppression. Luo Qingtong hated it when people used force to oppress her. In her previous life, those who had been conceited and powerful and hunted her down had all died in the end. This Saint Realm expert could give it a try. The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes intensified. The Saint Realm expert was enraged. You see, it's Luo Qingtong who doesn't know what's good for her. Old Master Lanue, get out of the way. Today, I won't give face to anyone. As he spoke, he suddenly waved his sleeve. Boom! A majestic and boundless power swept out from his hand in an instant. The spiritual qi in the surroundings seemed to have been frozen solid. Elder Lanue's figure was forced to move away. He was furious when he saw the power attack blasting toward Luo Qingtong. Saint Meng. Stop it. Touching Luo Qingtong is the same as touching our Lanue family. If you dare to make a move, we won't let you off. Saint Meng's expression changed when he heard the old man's words. But soon, his expression returned to normal. Elder Lanue, don't try to scare me with these words. He sneered. He's just a mere student. How could your Lanue family make a move? I know you might be unhappy with my actions, but I must obtain this 100 Ghost streamer. And this student who doesn't know what's good for him, he must be taught a good lesson. Otherwise, she wouldn't know that in this world, the strong are respected. She has no right to say anything in front of me. She dared to talk back to me and even tried to steal my item. She deserves to be taught a lesson. As he spoke, the power attack was like a huge wave. It was vast and boundless, as though it had activated countless spirit qi. It rushed towards Luo Qingtong like a huge wave. The space around her was also rapidly compressed under the effect of this power attack, trying to imprison Luo Qingtong within it. A Saint Realm expert comprehended the laws of heaven and earth and could control the spiritual qi around him for his own use. Luo Qingtong could feel that all the spiritual qi around her was being sucked dry. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.